Rex Rhodes' entire column on The Athletic yesterday was kind of all of this stuff, kind of touching on all of this stuff, but mostly about how the Titans just aren't very good this year. And at the very last sentence, Joe, I love you, buddy. The very last sentence, he's like, he's not going anywhere. It'd be stupid for them to move him. I'm paraphrasing here, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then it says, depending on what the Patriots offer, of course. And it's
Yeah,
the very
of course.
last, it's the very last sentence of his entire column, and it's what a good writer does, which is leave open the back door at the very last second to say all of this is how it should be viewed right now, unless somebody comes along with 3 first-round draft picks, and then you'd be stupid not to take them. So, like, at some point, there is an offer you cannot refuse. I think.
Here's my thing. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Well, I just want to put one more thing on the Rand thing, and I've alluded to this.
There's still more going on Rand. I don't,
okay, let's stay with.
I got a lot to get to.
All right, let's stay with Vrabel then.
Okay, so because right now, like, I look at the Greg Bedard report, and I think there's Vrabel and the Patriots, Vrabel and Rand, and then Rand Carthon. Like, I think that is the crux of this story, is 3 different parts. And I feel like, and I think Greg Bedard put it best. Everybody's like, well, the Patriots aren't going to trade a top 5 pick. Yeah, that's why they trade Bill Belichick to get picks for Mike Vrabel, to trade directly to Mike Vrabel for the Titans. So it's not out of the realm possibility that 2 coaches get traded in the same offseason or something or other. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But I will say this. My opinion on this relationship of Mike Vrabel and the Patriots, and the relationship of the state of the roster with the Patriots, the Patriots have a bad roster. But here's my thing, and this is my overarching opinion about Mike Vrabel and why he would find the Patriots talk attractive, or the Patriots job more attractive than Tennessee Titans. Mike Vrabel has said for years, about building relationships is so important with his players and with anybody that he comes into contact with. There is no greater relationship that Mike Vrabel has in Nashville compared to what he has in Boston. His relationships are, if I were putting a ranking of strength of relationships and strength of bond and strength of the ties that binds him, it goes Patriots, Ohio State, then University, or then Nashville. Like, he has no real ties here in Nashville other than having a job. I think if you hooked up Mike Vrabel to a lie detector, his end game has never been retiring Titans head coach. That is not his end game. That is not his ultimate goal. And
it doesn't mean that doesn't mean it can't become that, but it is not. Yes. I don't think it is when he took the job. I'm not sure it is right now, as he is looking around him at a new front office, a new roster, and a fan base with a very interesting perspective on him. So,
yeah, there is nothing to me that can keep him in Nashville there's nothing that really matters. And, like, Massachusetts doesn't align with Vrabel's,
Mitt Romney was the governor.
Like, what does that even mean? Like, who cares?
Mitt Romney was the
coach.
Yeah, Mitt Romney was the governor. Move on.
Yeah. The Patriots fan base loves, admires, and respects Vrabel way more than the Titans fan base does, by the way.
Yes.
You cannot sit here and say that like the majority of Titans fans hate fucking Vrabel.
Let me point out one thing to Sunmaker, who said, is this news from The Athletic? I haven't seen anything talking about the Carthon-Vrabel relationship. We cannot rehash all of our shows and the article by Greg Bedard. Go listen to the first few minutes of the show, Sunmaker. I'm not trying to be rude. I'm just saying we kind of worked through the entire process here. I have been hearing since training camp that there is a very strained and or not at all relationship between Rand Carthon and Mike Vrabel, and some of that could have been natural and could have been inherent and could have been part of the natural growing process of learning to work together. Some of it could have been approach, and now we're starting to see all this stuff leak out with a lot more other places coming to mention this. And so what I think Bedard added to the conversation, and I'm not trying to move on to Carthon here, but I guess I need to hold off on that. Because I think ultimately the point I think that's most important here is that it's a very good chance that Mike Vrabel stays here for a very long time. There's a very good chance that he's the head coach of the New England Patriots. That, like, all of these things are in play. And when there is this much smoke, there is almost always fire. Now, it doesn't mean that the conclusion of the fire isn't going to go, like, there's going to be a specific conclusion. And you see this with coaching searches all the time with Texas A&M and what they just did over the weekend. And so, like, just because you're interested in one job doesn't mean you're going to take it. Just because someone else is interested in you doesn't mean they're going to offer it to you. Like, a lot of times this stuff is being played out through these leaks and through these motivational things. And if Mike Vrabel wants more money, wants more control, wants more of something, whatever it is that he thinks he deserves or needs to win more games, this is a way he could leverage somebody else who clearly wants him to go to Amy Adams Strunk and say, this is what I need to be a Super Bowl champion coach. I want to make more money. I want X, Y, or Z. And that absolutely could be tied in directly to Rossini's report, which says the Titans want to calm the temperature down and reassure the fan base that Mike Vrabel is one of the best things they fucking have going right now.
Yeah.
On their
Well, my thing is like everybody's like, well, there's $100 million with the Tennessee Titans. Well, there's going to be close to that with the New England Patriots. They're number 3 in cap space for 2024. They right now, barring any cuts and everything, they're sitting at $75.9 million. Here's the thing, though. It's not just about cap space. What is another thing that makes the Patriots job a little bit more attractive than the Tennessee Titans job is that you have better cash flow. It's about cash. It's not just about the cap. It's about what your owner can put up. And guess who's building a new stadium? Guess who's a little strapped for cash? Guess who needs this and needs that? It's going to be the Titans. So, I mean, this Patriots job is not as unattractive as what people want it to be because they want the Titans. They want Vrabel to stay as the Tennessee Titans. And I don't blame them. But realistically, it's not as bad as what you think. Well, if you get Drake May or Caleb Williams, boom.
Yeah,
it changes everything.
I think the evaluation of rosters is largely overvalued unless you have like third-year Patrick Mahomes. Like, unless you have like clearly the guy who could play for 12 years and is going to be a top flight superstar, that makes that job more valuable. Otherwise, all of these jobs are about the same. Stability and ownership, to your point, cash flow, location, geography, division, all of these things are like kind of small factors that a coach might consider. But at the end of the day, there are only 32 head coaching jobs in professional football in the world. They are an asset, no matter what your roster looks like. They are a commodity.
The Carthon, and that's it for me and Vrabel. You know, I'm good on that. I think that it's entirely possible. It makes sense. You know, you're right. It could be him trying to leverage a bigger payday here. It could be him actually trying to get out of Tennessee. Sure. It could be either of those things. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what happens. Either someone is leaking some of this stuff out there, and Vrabel has his hand in that. The Rand Carthon comments is where I get a little lost here and there because there's a lot to the Rand Carthon stuff. But first, I want to say that heavy-handed and forcing are two different things. There is nuance in using the word heavy-handed versus forcing because, and I get it, instinctively, your first instinct is going to be to jump to the conclusion that, well, heavy-handed means they were forced. However, apparently, from what I have been told, is that this is like one of the worst kept secrets or a known thing that the Tennessee Titans were. The league was involved in some form or fashion with the general manager hiring process because of the Ray Horton joining the Brian Flores and all this, his joining that lawsuit, Mike Mularkey's comments resurfacing about the 2016 coaching search, that there was probably a nudge, a cajoling,
a leaning. I would call it a leaning
of, let's say that, like, here's some candidates, choose from one of these candidates. Now, in saying that, I hope it's not true. I would like to think that it's not true, but I also know the NFL gets involved in this kind of stuff all the time. The NFL gets involved, they step in, they have an overreach and all that kind of stuff. To me, though, that's where my problems come from, him saying there was performance issues in San Francisco, which I just can't get behind. I don't know who sourced that, where that opinion comes from, if that was even sourced, if that was just his opinion, because they sent him to go to Deebo Samuel's house to get them over the hump and undo the standstill they were at. I don't agree that he has, and you can even find it on Reddit. You can't find it on message boards. There's not a disparaging remark about his job performance in San Francisco. And to me, I feel like Rand Carthon is not being given due justice in what his duties and abilities and power actually is inside the Titan Stadium, inside St. Thomas Sports Park. When he first got hired, I was thinking, okay, what's probably 60-40? 60% is Vrabel, 40% is going to be Rand. Based on all the comments that we've had over the last few months, I think it's like 98% of everything that you've seen happen this offseason is Vrabel. 2% is Rand Carthon, and that may even be generous based on what I have seen, heard over these last few months by the Titans' actions, by various reporting, and all this stuff. So my question is, like, I think that Rand Carthon is qualified. I think he should be given the ability to do his fucking job. And I am very concerned that he's not being given that, or he's being viewed in that light. But let me just say this. When Kevin Byard got traded, everybody said, why isn't fans, media alike, why isn't Rand Carthon coming to the podium, right? Where is he? Where is he in all of this? Because normally, a general manager would come out and do a presser after they traded away a stalwart player, right? Well, who came out and handled the press? Who came out and made the statements in public? Mike Vrabel. Why? Because he's your GM.
All right. Okay, lots to unpack here. Sinkers Beverages, Kingston Group. We love you guys. Sinkers Beverages, back-to-back, best liquor store in the city. Use Sinkers Beverages and their sister city, Bluegrass, up in Hendersonville. Kingston Group, any problems with your house, talk to the Kingston Group. Kingston Group, buildkg.com. Just have a conversation. They will help you. So a lot of comments from you guys on a lot of this stuff. And I'll see if I can try to address some of this. There's an old, like, sort of like journalistic proverb about when you do talk radio and or podcasts. And it's something I generally live by, and it's called, I think, I feel, I know. And there are things that I think, there are things that I feel, and there are things that I know. And one of the things, for example, that we know about Mike Vrabel is that he loves to hire from within. He loves to develop personnel. He loves to develop coaches. He loves the concept. We know that. We know that. I don't need sources on that. We know that. I think that Mike Vrabel and Rand Carthon have had a tough time figuring out how to work together, and that is not a one person problem. I feel that Rand Carthon is equally to be blamed for that, based on just stuff. Let's just say. I think it is logical to infer that, and Bedard did as much in his column, that the NFL has some priority, to your point, and some incentive for Rand Carthon to have gotten the job. I agree with you. I know he is qualified. I know he deserves a chance to do the job. I agree with you on both of those points. I feel that he was not their top candidate. That if it was exclusively up to Amy and Mike, I feel like maybe he would not have been the choice. That doesn't mean he's not qualified. It doesn't mean he doesn't deserve a chance. So it is very complicated to me. And I think it is very fair, and we've had this conversation before, that if you are a guy stepping into the role and you maybe don't think that anyone else was like, oh, this guy was not their top choice, that maybe you might be a little put off by that, you know? And so I think there's a lot of things that logically you can connect some dots across a lot of this stuff. What I do not know officially, and what I cannot yet figure out, is like on a day-to-day, back behind the doors, how collaborative are you? I go back to that question. We asked it on October 16th. I asked it at the beginning of the year. I'm asking it now. How well are you working together behind closed doors to make everybody better? And I don't know what's happening there. I don't know. I don't think anyone can report otherwise.
Well, I think people are trying to find that question out, and they're getting answers that can't really work out in media, right? Like there are
Right.
answers that you can't really go out and say, hey, well, this happened. I feel that if you were to say, I feel that 98% of the moves are Mike Vrabel, and someone's like, someone in the thing, like, why would someone give up this much power to go to the Patriots? Well, he would have more power, but less time spent on stuff that he doesn't want to have, because he would have his guy as GM. Like, he would have Rand Carthon is not a Vrabel puppet, I guess you could say, for lack of a better term.
Oh, no.
But like, if he got Ryan Cowden, he would have his puppet and could focus on coaching, knowing that this guy's going to do everything that he wants without bucking up or saying anything.
Or
so
Matias support.
Matias support. But
or
John got pretty good in Arizona right now.
So. Or Stretch.
Or
Stretch. The point is, we can
That's
say
the point.
Yes, we can say we don't know. I do not know, nor do I feel, nor do I have any thinking about who was number one. I've got a guess, but my question is, like, ultimately, what do we know for sure about Vrabel? He likes to hire his own guys from within, his own personnel, develop those guys, and he wants more control because he doesn't trust John Robinson, or didn't like John Robinson, or didn't work well with John Robinson. All of those things would tell you an internal candidate would be the person he would want. And this is the other thing about the Rooney Rule, that, like, just in general as a concept, like, just because a guy happens to, or a girl for that matter, happens to be white doesn't mean they're not the best candidate. Like, that's also very important context in here, which sometimes is very lost in this. Absolutely, do we want more minority coaches and GMs and front office people, females as well, to be getting more opportunities? 1,000,000%, we all agree with that. But it doesn't mean that X, Y, and Z person is the best job for X, Y, and Z situation. Now, the first thing that comes to my mind is the St. Louis Rams drafting Michael Sam. To me, that's an example of what I think is I think the Rams made the decision. I think the NFL leaned on them a little bit to make that decision. And I am curious, now that Bedard has said as much, because I have not ever had any insight into this other than sort of like the internal dynamics in general, that the NFL was a part of this. That's sort of a different and extra piece to all of this. So ultimately what matters is Rand Carthon's qualified and he has the job.
Yes.
Can they make the fucking thing work?
How long?
Can they make the fucking thing work? And if you are doing something, if either side is doing something that hurts the relationship from being effective and working, then you are both guilty. This is like my two daughters. Like, if you may not like the situation. You both have to empty the dishwasher. I don't give a shit which one of you likes to do it more, or which one of you's older and can reach the cabinets. Like, you both have to do it, and you need to figure it out. Because if you don't, you're both in trouble.